Oh, Byzantine. I have not done that yet. That's a good one. And there's actually a lot because there's the Byzantine Empire. Then there's a whole section on Byzantine architecture. There's also Byzantine historians, and I thought it was cool. It says actual Byzantines, see Byzance, and I went and looked that up. It's the actual name of their coins. That's crazy. And then there's also Byzantium, which was a city, but then was changed to Constantinople or New Rome, which is cool because I looked up all the times in this one on the chronological timeline, and it's so crazy. Okay, let's go over it. If you're new here, my name's Sandra. I love old books. The insignificant cucks hate me because of it, so we're going over as much history as possible. Right now, this is my set of encyclopedias, the Chambers Encyclopedias from the 1890s. We're going over Byzantine Empire. Also styled the East Roman, Eastern, Greek, or Lower Empire, was founded in 395 AD when Theodosius the Great, at his death, divided the Roman Empire between his two sons, Arcadius and Honorius. The empire had previously for a time been divided into east and west, but the division then made by Theodosius was final. Arcadius, a weak and luxurious character, was made emperor of the eastern division, formerly included under the prefectures of the east and part of the Illyricum, namely Syria, Asia Minor, and Pontus, stretching along the shores of the Black Sea in Asia, Egypt in Africa, and Thrace, Moesia, now Bulgaria, Macedonia, Greece, and Crete in Europe. The empire thus formed lasted more than 1,000 years and underwent a great variety of fortune. It took the name of Byzantine Empire from Byzantium, the ancient name of its capital, which after 330 was usually called Constantinople or New Rome. 1. Period of Greek revival, 395 to 716, marked by the victories of Justinian and Heraclius. Arcadius left the government of the empire in the hands of his minister Rufinus, from whom it passed to the eunuch Eutropius, and afterwards to Gaius, the murderer of Rufinus. Gaius fell by his ambition in 401, and the shameless and avaricious empress Eudocia ruled until the time of her death in 404. See Arcadius. Arcadius was succeeded by his son Theodosius II, 408 through 450, a feeble prince. During his reign, affairs were ably and successfully conducted by his sister Pulcheria, yet Thrace and Macedonia could only be secured from the destructive conquest of Attila by the payment of tribute. After the death of Theodosius II, Pulcheria married the senator Marcianus, 450 to 457, whose firmness repelled the invasion of Attila. Marcianus was followed by Leo I, surnamed Messala the Butcher, a Thracian of low birth, but elevated to the throne by the commander-in-chief, Aspar, who being himself an Arian, would not venture to encounter the perils that sovereignty might have entailed on one of his religious views. Leo II, grandson of the former, succeeded but died after a few months, in conquest of which the crown came into the possession of his father Zeno, 474 through 491, who was banished by Basiliscus, 475, but who reascended the throne in 477. Though a weak and unpopular ruler, he contrived to retain his power in spite of several serious revolts. The internal distraction of the empire, to which at other times religious strifes added considerably, increased greatly during the reign of Zeno, and the invasion of the Goths were prevented only by gifts and stratagems. Sorry, y'all, I can't find my glasses. Just bear with me. I put them somewhere to keep them safe, and I can't remember where I put them. Ariadne, widow of Zeno, married the courtier Silentarius and raised him to the throne under the title of Anastasius I, 491 through 518. By the help of the Goths, this monarch overthrew the robber tribes of Mount Taurus. A new enemy, however, now appeared on the Danube in the Bulgarians, against whose desolating raids Anastasius built the Long Wall to protect the peninsula on which Constantinople is situated. The war with the Persians also broke out anew during his reign, and religious tumults often purpled the streets of Constantinople itself. After his death, the army raised Justinus I to the throne. He maintained his position mainly through the favor of the clergy, whom he had consolidated by his severe persecution of heretics. His nephew Justinian succeeded 527 through 565. He was celebrated for his code of laws and for the victories of his great generals, Belisarius and Narses, which re-established the empire both in Africa and Italy. But the rapid decline of the empire after his death showed that he had not been able to give it any internal consolidation or vitality. It was during the reign of Justinian that those pestilent contests of the blues and whites against the greens and reds, political fractions so named from the colors respectively worn, first attained any consequence. And though the first disturbance was terribly chastised by Belisarius, in 532, they continued to distract the capital periodically down to the 7th century. Justin II, 565 to 578, a weak man governed by his wife Sophia, yielded a part of Italy to the Longobards, was unsuccessful against the Persians, allowed the Avars to plunder the Danubian province, and ultimately became insane through vexation and anxiety. Tiberius, the captain of the guard, was then made regent, and after the death of Justin II, received the imperial dignity. He ruled with mildness and prudence, 578 through 582, purchased a peace with the Avars, concluded the war with Persia, and left as his successors the commander-in-chief, Maurice, who reigned from 582 to 602, having replaced on the throne the Persian king Khosroes II, who had been banished by his subjects. He thus secured the peace of his eastern frontiers, but the war against the Avars did not prosper. His niggardly treatment of the army caused a military insurrection in which he was slain along with his son, and Phocas, one of his generals, was elevated to the throne. Phocas proved a bad ruler. Through his monstrous vices, tyranny, and incapacity for government, the empire lapsed into still deeper anarchy. And I know there's going to be some stupid slowy who's going to freak out about that. You need to understand that America is the only place that makes a big deal out of that word. It does not mean the same thing in any other country, and that word is literally from somewhere else. Suddenly, however, a deliverer appeared in the person of Heraclius, son of the exarch of Governor General of Africa, who overthrew the tyrant and ascended the throne in 610. But great as was the genius of Heraclius, he had to submit to 12 years of defeat before he could organize and discipline a victorious army. In 622, he opened those magnificent campaigns in which the power of Persia was crushed, and which, in the opinion of Gibbon, were equal to those of Scipio or Hannibal. He lived, however, to see more formidable foes in the Saracens, who during 632 through 641 overran the countries on the Euphrates, with Syria, Judea, and Egypt. The power of the Greeks, which was demanded to resist the Arabian invasions, was miserably divided and weakened by their undenying religious quarrels, especially the controversy of the Orthodox against the Monothelites. Okay, we'll end right there. Come back for part 2.